Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today's recap movie is titled The Invitation, which is a 2022 horror thriller movie that is loosely inspired by the Bram Stoker's novel, Dracula. This is a near 2 hours long movie that should have just been 2 minutes long, and yes, by that, I'm referring to the officially released trailer. This movie is basically an invitation to test how much boring you can endure, and I'm not even exaggerating. So, if you are one of the few people that have managed to watch this movie till the end, congratulations, you passed the boring test.
Is he asleep?
No. I'm pretty sure he's dead.
Alright, let's delve in. The opening sequence tries to set the tone with the thunder, and the spooky music in the background. Then we saw a butler banging at a door very slightly before engaging his mistress in a conversation, which was mostly whispers, despite the weather. Anyways, the mistress manages to get past the butler, who conveniently waited an eternity, and until the mistress was about to kill herself, before raising the alarm. Moving on, we are introduced to Heveling, or rather Evie. Evie is a part-time caterer and an artist, who is so clumsy that she's broke, and she doesn't want to be involved in the New York dating scene but would rather take a DNA test to find her extended family. What are the odds the person she finds is going to be some rich white dude? And what are the odds he's British? Evie beat those odds to match Cousin Oliver, who apparently is the whitest dude Grace has ever seen.
That is the whitest man I've ever seen.
You've got a dirty, whorish mouth, that's what you have.
Hello to Cousin Oliver, who we get to meet at a nice fancy restaurant. Even though he was all shades of weird covered in white, somehow he still manages to pass all of Evie's red flags tests, which means that she is either having such a great time that she couldn't notice these red flags, or rather, she is choosing to ignore them completely. I'm guessing it's the latter, since if Cousin Oliver is paying the bills, it's only fair she play nice. So, Evie let slip that she's been dying to go to England but couldn't afford a trip, so when Cousin Oliver asked her to come over for a wedding, it was an obvious invitation she couldn't refuse, though she still felt the need to be coy about it.
Thank you, but that is too much to ask.
That's right, she wouldn't want him to think that she is a gold digger hoping to fall for some rich white guy in some faraway castle. She was definitely going because he is family, and he is not the stranger she just met 5 minutes ago.
Your auntie broke, your grandma broke, your brother broke, nigga, you broke!
Anyways, Evie got on a plane and arrived in England, but not even Grace's 3 sacred rules could stop her from being clumsy, as the lord of the castle would need to make a dramatic entrance, and it couldn't have been any worse. He looks like he is auditioning for the biggest role of his life, hoping to be cast as Lord Dracula.
What the fuck is this? Why are you so serious?
Also, we are not going to pretend like we didn't just notice how Evie's behavior changed the moment she realized who he is. We know she is definitely going to fall in love with this guy, because it's that obvious.
Thank you for letting me stay. Your mansion, it's beautiful.
Me so horny. Me so horny. You keep lying. Me lie.
We then watch Evie marvel at the mansion and revel in the knowledge of getting a personal maid, and as expected, there is one room no one is ever allowed to wander off into, because this is a horror movie, a fact we don't want to forget. What we are not expecting though is the Lord of the Manor, coming over late at night just to apologize.
I just wanted to apologize, again.
And he is trying so hard to be effortless that we barely even noticed it. But since Evie is already smitten, I guess we can give him a pass. After all, it's the effort that truly matters, and he seems to be trying a lot. Next, we saw Evie wake up from an unnecessary bad dream which serves as a necessary catalyst for her to get up for a glass of water. Upon coming out, she saw the butler and the maid still awake by that hour, and they are all lined up and waiting like they have been hypnotized and are in some kind of trance. The situation got even more weird when Mrs. Swift told her to get back inside because it is not safe in the dark. It's not like everybody else is conveniently standing outside in the dark, right?
Miss, you should return to your room. It's not safe in the dark.
The bell rang and one of the maids was chosen to go and clean the library at that midnight hour, which is weird, because even if the place is being renovated during the day, since when does cleaning become a job expected to be carried out at night? Seeing the maid go into the forbidden place is an indication of something bad about to happen. And it happened. We see a creature take her inside the library, just like we have anticipated. At this point, it's just difficult not to roll our eyes at how predictable this movie is. The next morning, Evie attended the family reunion where she gets to meet more dudes who are all excited that she exists since finding her seems to be the dream for these rich white guys. Cousin Creep introduced us to Uncle Creep and Great Uncle Creep. Still wondering why we weren't introduced to any Auntie Creep. Anyways, Evie, who does not want to be tangled up with family, in a castle full of them, inquired about her connection with the Lord of the Manor, and to be honest, I was genuinely surprised when Cousin Oliver mentioned that he is not family, not even in the slightest.
Not in the slightest.
How so very convenient. Also, how in the name are these maids not even realizing that their numbers are decreasing? Now that we know that Walter, the Lord of the Manor, is not related to Evie, we know her crush would soon blossom into a much bigger crush. And Walter seems to have the same idea, as he got her a new dress and manages to pull her for a dance that evening, which is more than enough to make her follow him anywhere, no questions asked. They kissed after some back and forth, and just when we thought we were the only ones watching them make out, we realized that there was someone by the window. Walter did his best to warn her off, but I'm totally more convinced there is snow during summer than that is an actual threat to be taken seriously.
I mean it.
Okay.
My skepticism was confirmed in the next sequence, when some fingers and claws came out to play in Evie's room, and she joined in the game of hide and seek. At least it was enough reason to get Walter to sleep in her bed, so I will give them that. The next day was spa day, which went on with some bickering and foreshadowing, and it ended with some blood-sucking from Evie's finger. In the next sequence, we see that Evie's curiosity was still very much intact, as we see her enter the library, which was forbidden but has its key conveniently lying around. As always, she broke something, and in so doing, spilled some files that contained her informations. She then got angry at Walter because he had decided to print out the information in black and white. Still can't figure out if that's a rich guy thing, but we see him try so hard to explain himself. To be fair, she posted those stuff online herself, so I don't get why she is that angry. Anyways, her anger didn't last long though, because there is nothing quite like breakup followed by a make-out session and a passionate sex, is there? Now we get to the climax, which is a gathering of weird people performing weird sign. Evie, who couldn't make out any young faces that is fit to be the bride and groom, was naturally inclined to ask after them. That was when the Lord of the Manor broke the news to Evie that she was the intended bride for the wedding all along. In this scene we learned that Emily, who was Evie's great-grandmother, was the woman that killed herself in the opening sequence, hence the need for Walter to take another bride since 3 is the magic number. As expected, Evie wanted out, but they wouldn't allow her to leave the room because that would not be dramatic enough. The older brides decided to have fun with Evie and keep her locked up in a coffin until she comes around, but she was instead freed by her maid, who had the time to give her a history lesson and a crash course on how to kill a vampire, before sending her on her escape. She did escape the castle, which is not surprising at all, considering their porous security, but when she made the hours-long walk into town, I'm really surprised there is no search party looking for her. Her luck did eventually run out when she met an old couple who are loyal to the vampire lord, and what followed was a hot splash and a knockout. Evie woke up back at the castle, and we get to the long-awaited wedding, and she said yes to the marriage vows, and instead of sharing a kiss, they have to share blood. So, Evie went first and drank her fill of Walter's blood, which seemingly made him weak. Then we realized that there was no learning curve to whatever changes she underwent, or her newfound powers, as she adapted quickly, and proceeded to set the altar on fire. This is soon followed by a stab to the chest for Walter. Rather than attack her in a fit of rage, the older bride took the fight outside, which is a smart move if we are considering the fire, but then, Blondie in a moment of self-independence sent them both through a stake, killing them. Evie, who was conveniently indisposed at that moment, was available on time to take on the butler, and she stabbed him through the neck. After realizing that the stab to Walter was a flesh wound, zipping off his hand and sending him into the fire would be sure to do the job. Good riddance to the vampire overlord who only targets women for bloody refreshment. Hello to the last woman standing. In the final scene, Evie and Grace stalk Oliver with the intention of taking him the F out, which can only mean that Grace is not freaked out that Evie is a vampire and is willing to condone violence. I don't think there should be any cause for alarm though, since it's only the bad guy they're taking out. With that, we wrap up the recap episode for The Invitation, the What If episode coming up next, and please don't forget to support the channel by subscribing and liking the video, and do put your thoughts down below in the comment section. Thank you very much.